Okay, thanks to Rebecca Lewis for joining us. Welcome back to the Bronx Buzz. And now, drum roll please, I'm welcoming a friend of mine for a long time, and he's been doing just wonderful things in the Bronx. It is my buddy Ron Kavanaugh, who is the executive director of the Literary Freedom Project and One Book One Bronx. It's all about reading and writing, I guess. Nice to see you, Ron.
Thank you. Thank you. So good to be on your show again.
Again, yeah, who's counting? Let's just get it's just so people have a foundation here. What is the Literary Freedom Project, and
Mhm.
what is One Book One Bronx?
Sure. The Literary Freedom Project is a nonprofit that I run here in the Bronx. We are dedicated, as the name implies, to doing literary programs in the Bronx. We started out as a literary magazine, then that morphed into a conference, annual conference. And then about 3, 4 years ago, we started basically a book club, and it's called One Book One Bronx. And that book club is free and open to the public. Before the quarantine, when we met in person, we used to give everybody free books. We really wanted to make the barrier low to participating in these discussions. So normally we select a book, then we will come together and discuss that book over 5 weeks. We'll divide the book up into chapters, and each week we'll discuss different chapters of that book.
Before we get into what's coming up, which is something I'm excited about because I know about the writer that you
Mhm.
have focusing on. What was your motivation in getting this started? Like, why do this? And is it difficult to do it in the Bronx? I mean, it's a stereotype breaker, so to speak. Just tell me a little bit about, tell us a little bit about why,
Yeah,
what the motivation was to put this together.
yeah. I wanted to connect people to their culture through books and reading. We primarily focus on Black and Latino readers, but the book club is open to anyone. And now we're not, we're probably still majority minority, but we have a healthy, um, you know, population of all people who join us. And the idea was just for us to explore the histories and cultures, particularly of Black and Brown people, which for the most part, is a huge part of the population of the Bronx.
The
And
numbers
we
will
wanted,
show that for sure, no
yeah,
question.
we just wanted a place where we could come together and have these conversations.
Do people do it? You get people on there?
Oh my God, yes, yes,
Really?
you know,
That heartens me. I'm so thrilled.
yeah. I have to admit, in the beginning, it wasn't so successful.
Alright.
It took a few years. Um, 2004, 2005, we only did it once. We couldn't get a momentum going. We also wanted to raise funds, and we just couldn't do it. And then around 2007 is when it caught on. So we were able to, I think we raised a good amount, at least enough to sort of buy books for everyone and do like 5 book clubs throughout the year. And it turns out we raised enough money that we could do about 9 book clubs. We used to meet in Bronx Art Space, and we were able to give everyone books who participated in the book club. And so we usually give out 25 books to the first 25
Right.
people. And there were weeks when we had over 50 people attending
Wow.
our book clubs. And online, we've had as many as 80 people.
I'm just guessing. I mean, it's just a guess on my part that maybe the pandemic helped out in terms of people were around,
Yeah.
home, and they were maybe doing. I'd like to think they were doing more reading, and they were looking for things to do, things that they
Mhm.
was interested in online. What are the most popular types of books that catch on and that attract people, or is the beauty of the Bronx? It's so diverse that it doesn't. I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but people love
Yeah.
everything. All the
People
books
love
that are behind
everything.
me, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah. Yeah, people love everything. We read fiction, nonfiction. We've read
Wow.
poetry. The last book, actually, the last book we read was by a Bronx author. Her name is escaping me now. Gabby Rivera.
Okay.
And she wrote a book, of course, Juliet Takes a Breath. It's about a young queer Latina growing up here in the Bronx who decides to, travel for school, and how her family, who is from the Bronx, sort of deals with her identity, but as well as, her leaving home, which, many of us face, growing up in the Bronx. You reach that age where you want to see the world, but your parents are kind of old fashioned and they want you to stay close to home. And yeah, we had over 30 people join us for that book
Just
club. Uh,
fantastic.
yeah, and I think before
Ron,
that, it was
Ron, it's
nonfiction.
just great when you think about what could be healthier, getting people to read, getting people to talk, getting people to talk about issues, expanding their mind. I mean, on and on and on and
Yeah,
on. So let's talk about my friend Dalma Llanos Figueroa
yeah.
and her work and what's she going to be doing and what are you going to be doing through this
Mhm.
process?
So we have a partnership with the Casita Maria Center for Arts and Education,
Right?
and we'll be reading Dalma Llanos's, Dalma Llanos Figueroa's second book, which is called A Woman of Endurance. And Dalma has been writing these sort of historical fiction books based on the slave trade and how it affects Puerto Rico and the Caribbean. So her first book was Daughters of the Stone, which
I
chronicled
believe we
five.
featured that
Yeah,
here on this show, if I'm not mistaken.
you did have her on, and that book chronicled five generations of African women, and then the current book continues that. It doesn't continue the story, but it kind of sets it just in Puerto Rico and the impact of the slave trade on Puerto Rico, particularly Puerto Rican women. So we're going to start reading that book on, actually, we're going to start the discussion of that book on September 6th.
Okay.
And we'll meet every week.
Wait. September 6th is a Tuesday,
Tuesday, correct.
right? Okay.
And we'll
Uh,
meet for 5 weeks. So we'll meet the 6th, the 13th, the 20th, the 27th, and then October 4th.
Okay.
On
And everybody will meet and then they will talk about the book. That's what the process is.
Yeah, so people will read the book at home on their own, and then when we come together, we have a facilitator lead the conversation on that week's reading assignment. So, like the book is like 350 pages. Divide that over 5 weeks, so that's about 70 pages every week we discuss. And
You know,
then
go ahead, Ron. I'm
and
sorry.
then the last session on October 4th,
Yeah.
Dalma will join the conversation. And this is all virtual.
Are the books that you select by Bronxites specifically, or not necessarily? And it just in this case, it is.
It just happens. I mean, we do give preference to Bronx writers. So we usually read one or two. We usually read about 8 or 9 books a year. And out of that, maybe 2 books are Bronx writers. We are looking for, people who are published, people who are, I don't want to say mainstream, but have a following, because that reflects back on who will attend that
Oh, that's
conversation,
interesting. Yeah, that certainly helps build
like
an
marketing.
audience. Yeah. Who selects the books? Is it you?
Um, it, it is
It
partly
could
me.
be.
Yeah, it is partly me, but we actually have an open process now. So at the end of each year, our year is September through June. Usually in July, we send out a list of like 70 books for people to select from. And out of those selections, like the top vote getters is how we select the books.
I would think that the public libraries would love you. would
I would
maybe,
I would think that also, Gary.
is that not happening? I mean, like it seems to
I
me
mean,
you're looking
people,
for a place to do it. We have a
yeah,
beautiful in my neighborhood, a new beautiful Van Cortlandt library. There's plenty of reading space and meeting
yeah,
space.
yeah. there are a couple of logistic things that I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
really consider
Yeah,
going into.
leave it to me to jump into something I shouldn't
That's all right. So
have.
we have partnered with the main branch, the Bronx Library Center,
That's good.
and
Yeah.
we did host the book club there for a few months. One of the issues we have is space.
Yes.
Oftentimes we think that these spaces are large enough, and they're not. Um, so we need a
Yeah.
space to host 30 people
That's
sitting down.
right. That's a good
And
right.
also,
And in a circle, so to speak, because
yeah,
if you're in an
exactly.
auditorium, the Bronx Center, the Library Center has an auditorium, but
Yeah,
that's not conducive to this kind of
exactly.
dialogue
And,
that
and
you.
we used the auditorium. One time we had to use it, and it just was not a good setup.
Yeah,
Uh,
that
the whole
it's
dynamic of people facing,
yeah, so maybe the virtual thing that, of course, we all got used to, even this program now
yeah,
during the pandemic, is useful to you. All right, so let's wrap it up by just reminding people. So the you're working with Casita Maria
right,
down in the South Bronx, but this is a virtual
correct.
process, right?
Yes.
And so why don't you repeat the dates, and then let's put up contact info so that people can know how to participate and get
Sure.
themselves involved, get their kids involved.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's really expand our minds.
hmm So the dates are September 6th, 13th, 20th, 27th, and October 4th. And on October 4th, Dalmayanos will join book club. This is virtual. For more information, you can just go to onebookonebronx.com.
And that is ONE, not one, not number one.
Right,
ONE.
it's all spelled out. It's the
One book.
word one. Um,
There,
and just it's free and open to join. Yeah.
yeah, there are efforts out there. There's the Bronx Bound books. I mean, they're out there, and then of
I think
course
she just got her second vehicle.
I saw them just the other day. I wasn't aware it was the second vehicle, but
Mhm.
yeah, we got to keep doing this because this is how we keep us sane and smart. So,
Absolutely.
Ron Kavanaugh, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for the Literary Freedom Project and One Book One Bronx. I'm surrounded by books. I got a ton of books here, Bronx books
Yeah,
that people have come on the show over the years. If you have somebody who's from the Bronx and written a book, you should let me know and we'll coordinate and
definitely.
promote it and do all that stuff. Thank you so much for what you do. I mean, we need
Thank you.
exactly this and more. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Gary.
All right, folks, that will do it for us for the Bronx Buzz. So, you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen. First of all, we want to thank Rebecca Lewis, and we do thank Ron Kavanaugh. We'll see you next week. Good night.